How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to the Scoring from the 50 podcast. I know it's been a little bit. I took a week off. I had to take care of some finals. I've been working, stuff like that. I just wasn't able to get stuff done last week because I know I got school. I had to put my priorities straight. But we're back this week. We got big news across the conference champions. We got big news in the coaching world. My Michigan Wolverines have fired their head coach in disgrace. We'll hit on that. Then we got a preview two of the biggest college football playoff games this upcoming weekend. Alabama is traveling to Norman, Oklahoma to take on the Sooners in the round one of the college football playoff. And then we also have Miami traveling to College Station, Texas to take on Texas A&M and the Aggies. And then after that, we will get to, I have my playoff bracket right here. We will get to that at the very end. We will have a great show in store for you guys. Before I get into it though, I gotta make sure I tell you guys, go down, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, do all the things that YouTube likes you to do. All right, leave a comment, leave your comment. Who do you guys think is going to win the college football playoff? Who do you guys think is going to win these big games? Oklahoma and Alabama. We got Texas A&M and Miami. What do you guys think of the SEC championship, Big Ten championship? Indiana with a huge win over Ohio State. Fernando Mendoza won the Heisman. Tell me your thoughts on everything going on in the college football world. Who do you guys think Michigan should hire? We'll get into that. I'll give my opinions on that as well. Let's get right into it, okay? Alabama won the SEC in a huge game against Georgia. Alabama has been really, really struggling as of late, and I think that showed itself in the SEC championship. Georgia looks like a team that is playing at the right time. They're playing their best football at the perfect time at the end of the season. They are scaling at the perfect time. I think Georgia is set up really, really, really well for this playoff. They got a first round bye. They're going to be playing Texas A&M or Miami, which is going to be a great game no matter who they end up playing. They have a great schedule to get to the college football playoff championship game. I love what Georgia's doing right now for Alabama, and we'll hit on this a little bit later in the preview of the Oklahoma and Alabama game. But Alabama is just playing some of their worst football right now. They kind of peaked way too early. They had a really good 4 to 5 game run of just beating ranked team after ranked team after ranked team after ranked team, and they've completely fallen off since then. I don't think they're anywhere near as good as they used to be, but you can argue that they have showed that they can beat really good teams. So you just don't know with Alabama. They could be really good or really bad. They could have 5 turnovers. They could have 0 and take care of the football, have a great game. You just don't know with Alabama. We will see in the college football playoff. Indiana won the Big Ten championship. What a game that was against Ohio State, 13-10. I bet that's a score that haunts you Ohio State fans, right? But a huge win for Indiana. Did you guys think that this was possible? Tell me, be honest with me. 2 years ago, did you think that Indiana could win the Big Ten, beat Ohio State in the process, beat Oregon in the process, be the number 1 seed in the college football playoff, and be the second highest favorite to win the national championship? Indiana. Not that long ago, they were the losingest program in college football history. They're second in losingest football program in college football to Purdue. This was not supposed to happen. What Curt Cignetti is doing at Indiana is not being appreciated enough. I think too many people are chalking it up to, well, the transfer portal, well, NIL, you can do this with teams now. You can do this, but you can't do it to this extent. You can't do it the way that Curt Cignetti is doing it at Indiana. He's doing a fantastic job at Indiana and Bloomington. He is doing something that will never be seen ever again, and that is taking a bottom-of-the-barrel program in any conference and taking them and making them nationally relevant. They are in the conversation for a college football championship, not college basketball. Indiana is one of the favorites to win the national championship in football. Not baseball, not badminton, not lacrosse, not basketball, football. Football. People need to appreciate what Curt Cignetti is doing in this job, okay? Pay attention, because you are witnessing something that you will never witness again. Pay attention to Indiana. For Ohio State, though, I think that they're still in a position where they want to be at. They are 100% exactly where they want to be. They only have 1 loss. They didn't win the Big Ten, so they're not going to reach every single one of their goals, kind of like last season. But they're still by far the most talented team. I think at their best, they are better than any other team at their best. It's just, can they play at their best? Can they consistently play at their best? Can they be ready to play teams that are all about the same talent level as them? I don't think that there's a team in college football that is as talented as Ohio State, But there's teams that are close, like a Georgia, like a Texas A&M, like a Miami, like an Indiana, like an Oregon. All these teams that they're about to play in the college football playoff. So with that, Ohio State can beat any team in the country. They can compete. They will be favored against any single team that they play in the college football playoff. So I think that they're still set up to be exactly where they want to be. It's just they need to play as good as they possibly can against the best teams in the country. Can they do that? That's the question I have with Ohio State. They did it last year. This is a very, very, very similar experience to last year, but not quite the same. Not quite the same. Because, yes, they lost 13-10 to a team that they shouldn't have lost to. But Indiana was good. Indiana is really good. A lot of people could have seen Indiana winning that game. I picked Ohio State. I would have picked Ohio State. I didn't have an episode up that week, so I would have picked Ohio State. But I think a lot of people saw a way that Indiana could win that game. The difference between that game and the Michigan game last year, no one saw that coming. That game was a total shock to Ohio State's senses. That game was not supposed to happen. They were 20 to 25 point favorites depending on where you looked. They should have won that game. There was no reason for them to lose that game. The Indiana game, you can chalk it up to be like, yeah, we'll be okay. We'll be okay. The Michigan game was not that. The Michigan game last year was, oh boy, we got to figure some stuff out. That's why I don't think it's going to have the same effect that the Michigan game had last year. So we'll see where Ohio State answers. Again, last year they answered to a loss in the perfect way. Can they do that again this year? They're going to have to do this again this year. Can they go and repeat? They have the talent to do it. They have the coaching staff to do it. We'll see. We'll see. I really like where Ohio State is at, though. Texas Tech won the Big 12. I don't want to talk too much about this. They blew out BYU. I mean, it wasn't really ever close, but it was a really impressive season from BYU. The only issue that I had with that game really had nothing to do with that game. It's just the College Football Playoff Committee. A lot of people had an issue with this. They dropped BYU down below Miami whenever Miami didn't play a game, but they didn't drop Alabama. Alabama played terribly against Georgia, so I don't understand how you can punish BYU for playing a bad game against Texas Tech, but not punish Alabama for playing a bad game against Georgia. See, the thing about this year is that people are talking about Texas Tech in a way that they usually talk about in Oregon, or they usually talk about it, maybe not quite in Ohio State, but maybe a really good team like an LSU, a good team, but not quite to that top level, but they're still talking about them like a power-rated team that is power-rated really high. And again, the difference between power ratings and rankings is power rating is who would be favored on a neutral field. Texas Tech is up there with the best of them. Texas Tech is up there. I think they're above Oregon. I think that they're above Ole Miss. They're right around Georgia. Like, they are a really talented team, not just a really good team. For example, TCU was really, really good whenever they beat Michigan in the college football playoff. They were a good team, but they weren't the most talented team. That's why it was such a shock that they beat Michigan. That's why I was stunned that we lost that game. But Texas Tech is completely opposite from them. They are a talented team. They have the dudes to go win a game against a really, really good football team. They can go compete with an Oregon. They can go compete with an Indiana or a Georgia or an Ohio State. They are that talented. Texas Tech, they beat BYU, right? They handled them. Alabama was handled by Georgia, right? So the way that people talk is that Texas Tech is around the same level as Georgia, around the same level as an Oregon or an Ohio State, right? So I don't think you can punish BYU for losing to a team on the same level as Georgia. You can't punish them more than an Alabama team who lost to Georgia, right? If Texas Tech and Georgia are equal, then the way that the teams that lost to them should be treated equally, right? So Texas Tech and BYU, I'm saying that they shouldn't have been dropped. If Alabama wasn't dropped below Notre Dame, then I don't think BYU should have been dropped behind Miami in the college football playoff rankings, which would have, in theory, kept that buffer between Notre Dame and Miami, and Notre Dame would have gotten in. Do I agree with that? No. No, I do not. Because Miami and Notre Dame have the same records. They should be compared directly. If Miami has the same record as Notre Dame and beat Notre Dame, they should be above Notre Dame. That simple, right? I don't agree with that, but I think that that's how it should have gone in the way that they set it up in the weeks leading up to the college football playoff selection show. So, again, I just don't agree with the way that BYU was handled compared to the way that Alabama was handled in that college football selection show, but that's neither here nor there. whoever got in, got in. Great season by BYU. They had a really good year. They kept Kalani Sitake, which is one of their biggest gets in a long time. Texas Tech has had a great season. I can't wait to watch them in the college football playoff. We will hit on them in the bracket part of the show. I can't wait to watch them play. Now let's talk about some horrible coaching news in the Michigan world. Michigan has fired Sharon Moore in complete disgrace. He, obviously, you guys know the story. He allegedly was with a staffer, I'm assuming a recruiting staffer. I'm not completely sure on what her job was, but he had a inappropriate relationship with her. Allegedly, there are rumors that he got her pregnant. Allegedly, that pregnancy was then terminated. We don't quite know exactly what happened, but that is the rumors going around. That's what most people assume happened. Not only that, but that's what he got fired for. But after he got fired, everyone knows the story. It was all over Twitter, all over social media, all over ESPN, everything. He then decided to go to his wife's house, which is technically his house, but it's his wife's house now. I think that he's probably not living there, if I had to guess. He then threatened to kill himself. He then left that house and went to his mistress's apartment. He broke in, allegedly put a butter knife to his throat, and claimed that his blood was on her hands, and pretty much said, "I'm going to kill myself. It's your fault." Horrible situation for everyone involved. Again, thoughts and prayers are with everyone that is affected, the players, the coaches that might lose their jobs, and the family, especially the family of Sharon Moore. My heart breaks for them. It's just a horrible situation. Nobody asked for this, and Sharon Moore completely backstabbed everyone involved. I don't care about him. He can go off and do his own thing, whatever he wants to do. He can keep DMing OnlyFans models and everything. I don't care about him. I don't feel bad for him in the slightest. I care and I truly feel for the players, the coaches, and the family involved. I feel for them. Thoughts and prayers are with them. And I wanted to make sure that I said that before we get to talk about the coaching search and the ramifications in coaching world of this, because the personal lives and the personal lives of the family and the players and the coaches are way more important than any coaching search or any sort of hiring or firing of a certain person. With that being said, though, again, moving forward, the biggest story for the Michigan Wolverines is who will they hire next, okay? Kalen DeBoer is obviously the first name that popped up whenever Sharon Moore made the move to do what he did and he got fired. Kalen DeBoer came up first. I believe that is the number one person on Michigan's board. I think it starts with him. I think you have to go and make him tell you no. I think he will tell Michigan no, as much as I would love to have Kalen DeBoer. I've been texting with a few of my friends, and I'm telling them, man, Kalen DeBoer, if we can get him, I will be most happy with him. But the second, third, fourth options, I don't completely hate. But again, Kalen DeBoer, I believe, will tell them no. I believe that is what is making this hold up, is that they're waiting. As much as Kalen DeBoer can tell them no through his agents, I think Michigan wants a no from Kalen DeBoer, and then they will move on to secondary coaching options, which I believe number 2 on their board will be Kenny Dillingham from Arizona State. I think this will be a home run hire. Okay, I start to get hairs standing up on my arms. My goosebumps start going whenever I think about Kenny Dillingham coaching the Michigan Wolverines. I think he would be a grand slam. I think he is a leader of men. I think he is the most honest coach you will ever meet. I think he can get people fired up, not only in the mental sides of things, but man, he took Sam Leavitt, a transfer from Michigan State, and made him into a superstar. Imagine what he can do with Bryce Underwood, with Andrew Marsh, possibly Nick Marsh from Michigan State. I think that he will end up at Michigan. I'm not 100% sure. But he can go get transfer portal talent. He's done it as Arizona State, and they have no resources. Imagine Kenny Dillingham with Michigan resources. He'd be a home run. The issue with this I have is he is at home in Tempe. He is exactly where he was meant to be. And if I took this shirt off and I put on a different shirt of a college, I'd want him to stay at Arizona State. I'd want him to stay where he belongs. He grew up there. He went to school there. That's where he's meant to be. He took them from being in complete trouble in a horrible position and made them into a championship contender in the Big 12. What he has done at Arizona State is nothing short of a miracle. It is on par, not quite on par, but is close to what Curt Cignetti has done at Indiana. Kenny Dillingham is an outstanding coach. He is a Sun Devil. And I think that if I took this shirt off, I would want him to stay at Arizona State. I would. with this shirt on, I hope he goes to Michigan. I think that is my favorite. That is my favorite possible head coaching position hire for Michigan. I want Kenny Dillingham, but by unbiased, I would want him to stay at Arizona State. It's just I don't know if he does. Michigan has way more resources than Arizona State. Arizona State just lost their star quarterback, Sam Levitt, to the portal. It's just going to be a struggle to keep players in Tempe, Arizona. And I think that that's going to be a huge factor into Kenny Dillingham's decision. But I hope Michigan gets him. Unbiasedness, I hope he stays at Arizona State. Now, if he does say no, if he's like, you know what, I got my sister living across the street from me. I got my family, my parents, everything that I could ever need is in Tempe, Arizona. I'm staying here. Who does Michigan go from there? I think as of yesterday morning, I guess this is Wednesday. I'm not sure whenever this is going to be uploaded. But Tuesday morning, I believe the third favorite was going to be Jedd Fisch from Washington. I think the rumors are that the firm that Michigan hired did their vetting, did their background check and everything, and I think that they found something with Jedd Fisch that they didn't like. I don't think that they wanted to take the risk on Jedd Fisch. Michigan's in a position where they cannot take a risk on anyone. They have had such bad press the past 5 to 6 years. They cannot take a risk on someone doing something stupid again. Jedd Fisch, I believe they found something. I don't know what. If I did know what, I would share it with you guys. I don't know what. Nobody really knows what. I'm not an insider by any means. I'm in Kansas City, Missouri. I do not know anything. I don't have any resources. I don't have any connections. I have no idea what they're talking about. But I do believe that they found something in Jedd Fisch's history that they didn't quite like. So I believe that he is out of the running for Michigan's head coaching position. Now, I believe fourth, maybe fifth, I do want to talk about the idea of Jesse Minter being their head coach. Jesse Minter would be a home run hire. I believe that Jesse Minter should have gotten the job if Sherrone Moore didn't get the job, right? I think that Jesse Minter should have gotten the job over Sherrone Moore. Do I think he would have taken the job? I don't know. I think that he very easily could have just wanted to go to the Chargers with Jim Harbaugh. I think that he would be a home run hire. I think he'd be a great recruiter. I think he's a great coach. He'd be a great defensive fit, obviously. I mean, he's putting Patrick Mahomes in a blender. I think he can easily put college football quarterbacks in a blender. He can do exactly what he wants to do at Michigan. He'll have the resources to be successful. I think he would be a great hire. I just don't like the idea of hiring anyone from Jim Harbaugh's coaching tree. I love Jim Harbaugh. Jim Harbaugh is my hero. You will never hear me speak ill will of Jim Harbaugh, the person or the coach. I just think that he is a poor judgment of character. I don't think that he can evaluate people very well. I think that you can see that in the amount of arrests. If you want to go search that up, you can go search that up. The amount of arrests that have been under Michigan's football program the past 10 years, the amount of bad press, the amount of cheating scandals, because I think that a lot of it was just bull. None of it was really serious, especially the sign stealing stuff. I think that was all pointless and just people trying to tear Michigan down. But there's also recruiting stuff. There was a lot of Burgergate stuff, all this crap. I think Michigan fans, and I can fully attest to this, we are sick of having our coach not be coaching every single game of the season. I cannot think of the last time that our head coach coached every single game of this season. I think maybe 2024, where we went 7-5. I'm not sure if Sherrone Moore coached every game, but I know that Jim Harbaugh didn't coach every game in 2022. He didn't coach every game in 2023, obviously, because he missed the last 3 games. He missed the first 2 games as well, so he really only coached about half that season. This year, Sherrone Moore was suspended for 2 games. Sherrone Moore was supposed to be suspended for a game next year. That obviously isn't happening. I just want our head coach to coach the games that he's supposed to be coaching. He was hired to coach football games, and I just want that to happen. And I'm really sick of people not coaching every game that they're supposed to be coaching. I think Jesse Minter, although is a great coach, I think he'd be a great hire. I think he'd do great things at Michigan. I'm just sick of having Jim Harbaugh tree coaching Michigan. I love Jim Harbaugh. He's a great person. I think he himself is a great person. I just think he's a poor judgment of character. I think he's doing a great job with the Chargers. I think Jesse Minter's doing a great job with the Chargers. I just don't love the idea of having a Jim Harbaugh coach coaching Michigan again. I think we got to cut ties. And this is why another reason why I didn't like Jed Fish. He coached under Harbaugh, although it's a completely different time. There were no really scandals under Jim Harbaugh at that time or anything whenever Jed Fish was the offensive coordinator at Michigan. But I just don't love the idea. I've said it a million times now. I don't like having a head coach that coached under Jim Harbaugh. So I think that takes Jesse Minter out of it. Where do they go from there? I think fourth, and, I think Jesse Minter and Eli Drinkwitz. I think Jesse Minter and this person are around the same level of, okay, these people said no. All right, let's go after these two. Jesse Minter, and I think the other option is Eli Drinkwitz from Missouri. I'm going to get a lot of pushback on this. I understand that a lot of people scoff at the idea of Eli Drinkwitz coaching their football team. I don't get it. I don't get it. Maybe it's because I'm from Kansas City, Missouri. Maybe it's because I kind of have a little bit of love for Missouri in my heart just because I am from Missouri. But I love what he's doing at Missouri. He recruits way above what Missouri should be recruiting at. He got the number one edge a couple cycles ago. He got Luther Burden, the number one wide receiver, a couple cycles ago. He keeps in-state talent home. And whenever you look at the rankings for 2027, Michigan is a stacked state for the recruiting class. I think they have CJ Sadler up there. He's going to be a great wide receiver. There's going to be a ton of talent in the Midwest. There's going to be a ton of talent in Michigan. I think Eli Drinkwitz would hit a grand slam in the 2027 class. That would put people with Bryce Underwood, put people with Andrew Marsh, put people with Carter Meadows that we just got, Savion Hyder that we just got, if we can keep them. Knock on wood. I don't have any here. Knock on wood that we keep those guys. But Eli Drinkwitz would be a grand slam. I think he'd be a great hire at Michigan. And I think the most important part that I will say that I think big national analysts won't say, I think Eli Drinkwitz would get in Ryan Day's head so easily. I think people have seen how easy it is to get in Ryan Day's head. Jim Harbaugh was great at this. Sherrone Moore was horrible at it. I think that Eli Drinkwitz would get in Ryan Day's head every single year. And I think Michigan fans would love it. I think they would love it. Every single Michigan fan that is saying, oh no, he's not built for a big program. I think he's great at Mizzou. He's not built for a big program like us. Yes, he is. Yes, he is. He can recruit. He recruited Luther Burden. He recruited Williams Nwaneri. Williams Nwaneri turned out to not be very good, so he transferred to Nebraska. But he can recruit. He can recruit. I think with Michigan resources, he will be able to recruit the Midwest great. I think he'll be able to recruit Ohio great with the talent that is in Ohio every single year. He'd be able to recruit Michigan really well. He'd be able to recruit extremely well. Not only is he a great recruiter, but he is also a great staff evaluator. He has had some of the best staffs in the country. LSU just saved their defense by hiring away Mizzou's defensive coordinator. Blake Baker came from Mizzou. They also took their linebackers coach with Blake Baker from Mizzou. Now look what they're doing at LSU. LSU's defense is what was good about their team last year. The offense was abysmal, but their defense was great. That's because of Blake Baker. That's because of, and Eli Drinkwitz was the first person to realize that Blake Baker was really good. Eli Drinkwitz will hire a great staff underneath him. He will have a great baseline of recruiting, great baseline of staff, great resources. I think Eli Drinkwitz will be a home run hire for Michigan. I think that even if you get that low on your list, I think Kenny Dillingham is my 1. Well, he's my 1B. Kalen DeBoer is my 1A. I think he's going to say no. So Kenny Dillingham is my 1B. I think you go after him, make him say no. If he says no, Jed Fish, I don't think he's in the running. Jesse Minter, I think that you shouldn't go after anyone with Jim Harbaugh ties. Then you look at Eli Drinkwitz, and I think that he would say yes. I think he is more than likely a guaranteed yes. I think he would take that job in a heartbeat. If Eli Drinkwitz, if all these people somehow, maybe they look at all the issues that Michigan's having, and maybe they say no. Maybe they're like, well, I don't want to deal with the question marks of athletic director. I don't want to deal with the question marks with your president. I don't want to deal with all this scandal. I don't want to deal with all this crap. Maybe all those people say no. Then you look at maybe a Clark Lee from Vanderbilt. I think he'd be a great hire. Jeff Brom, he's great with quarterbacks. He'd be great with Bryce Underwood. I think that would be a really good hire. There are plenty of coaches out there that can win big at Michigan just because of the resources that Michigan has. Plenty of coaches out there that can do that. But you have to hire the best one. the best one that will say yes. I think that you will get a lot of news on this weekend. I think that they're mostly just vetting people right now, trying to see who would be a good person to go after, who wouldn't be a good person to go after, like the Jedd Fisch. I think that they found something that they wouldn't really like to have in their program. So Jedd Fisch is off the table. I think that's why you hire a search firm if you're hiring a new coach. So I think that they're doing a great job. I think they're doing exactly what they need to be. There's not really a huge rush. The portal doesn't open until January 2nd. You have to have a coach in probably a week before that. So I think that if Kalen DeBoer wins this weekend against Oklahoma, he's off. You have to just not even try because you have to go get someone who will be here in time for the portal. Now, I think that that's Kenny Dillingham. I think he'll say yes. I think if you watched his press conference yesterday, he was talking about, he got asked, do you want to give a comment to have the Arizona State fans relax on Twitter and relax on social media? He could have said anything. Could have been like, no, I'm not going anywhere. I'm staying at Arizona State. This is my home. I'm not going anywhere. It's not what he said. What he said is that he loves Arizona State. And he specifically said, that part will never change. And I quote, he said, that part will never change. I think that means that something else could change. I think that that's what he's trying to say. So I think that the favorite to land the job at Michigan is going to be Kenny Dillingham. Again, after that, I think it then falls to probably Eli Drinkwitz, and then maybe Jesse Minter, and then a Clark Lee and a Jeff Braun. Probably in that order roughly. I'm not 100% sure. But I think that that's who Michigan is going to go after. I can't wait to see who we hire. I think no matter what happens, we will easily have an upgrade at the head coaching position over what we had, because I don't think that what we had is a good coach whatsoever. Not a good coach. He coached scared. He coached scared in the biggest moments. You saw that against Ohio State. You saw that against Oklahoma. It's crazy to me how different our offense was under Biff Poggi against Nebraska and every other game that we had. Every other game we were scared to run Bryce Underwood. Every other game we were scared to do anything on offense. I think that's going to go away. I'm ecstatic to see who Michigan hires. I think no matter what, we're probably going to have, we're going to have a huge upgrade at the head coaching position, and I think that's going to set us up great for next season, as long as we can keep the talent on our team. I think we need to keep Bryce Underwood, obviously. We need to keep Andrew Marsh, obviously. We need to keep the recruiting class somewhat intact. We've already lost a couple guys. That's fine. But if we can keep the core guys, then we will be fine. I think Michigan is set up for success. They're going to have a huge upgrade at the coaching position going forward. I can't wait to see what we do next. Now let's talk about football. Okay, let's talk about on the field football. On Friday, Alabama is traveling to Oklahoma. It's going to be a huge game. I can't wait. We already had this game once, right? Ty Simpson versus John Mateer is going to be a huge factor in this game. John Mateer's legs versus Ty Simpson's arm. John Mateer can run. He can't throw very well. Ever since the thumb surgery, he hasn't been able to be himself. He hasn't been as good as he's been. Ty Simpson, on the other hand, has been great up until the last few weeks. He's thrown a lot of interceptions the past few weeks. He's got to take care of the football. If he can, I think Alabama will win this game. I think that he will win this game very easily if he can just take care of the football. I don't know if he can. There is no rushing game in this game. No rushing game. I believe that there might be maybe like 7 points scored in the first half, just because neither team can run the ball whatsoever. Alabama has 3.3 yards per carry. That is 121st in the country. I repeat that. 121st at Alabama. That's not good enough. That is not good enough. That is not the Alabama way. On the other side, Oklahoma, 3.7 yards per carry. Slightly better. Not much. Slightly better. That's 100th in the country. Neither of these teams have top 100 rushing games. They cannot run the ball to save their lives. I am going to dread watching these offenses. They're not going to be able to move the ball. Now, the passing is a completely different story. Oklahoma is 206 passing yards per game. They are 44th in the country in that stat. Now, I think that might be a little bit inflated from earlier in the season because, again, John Mateer wasn't hurt. He was playing great. He played great against Michigan. I think that they have struggled recently. But same goes for Alabama. Alabama is very, very misleading in their passing game. 273 yards per game, and that is 18th in the country, which is great. But again, just like Oklahoma, they're not as good as they were at the beginning of the season. Again, like I mentioned whenever I was talking about the championship game, They were really good early in the season, but recently they have struggled. They have completely took a downturn. They had a great run. They played LSU, they played Vanderbilt, they played Missouri. They had a great run against ranked teams, and they beat all of them. It was a great 4 to 5 game run of beating those teams. They haven't done that. They have not played the same that they were early in the season. So I don't know if that 273 yards per game is misleading. I think it might be. It might be a complete fool's gold stat. Now, let's talk about Oklahoma rushing defense against Alabama. Oklahoma's defense is second in yards per carry in the country. So Alabama will struggle. They will not be able to run the ball. If I could bet anything on this game, and it is that Alabama will not be able to run the ball. Now, Oklahoma running the ball against Alabama, again, 100th in the country in yards per game. 135 yards per game for Alabama. 135 yards per game against Alabama's defense is what teams have averaged. That is 41st in the country. So I think that if there's going to be any run game, it's going to be Oklahoma against Alabama. I think that Oklahoma will win the game on the ground slightly because they can't run the ball very well, but I think that they will. They will have more rushing yards in this game. They will have more yards per carry in this game. Now, what Alabama can do to negate that is their passing defense, like I just said. 18th in the country so far this entire season, but again, that might be a little misleading. Oklahoma's passing defense has been pretty decent. They're 44th in the country, 206 yards per game against them. They will be able to at least slow down Alabama's passing game if it's at the level that it is usually. If it's at the level that it was at about middle of the season, whenever they were maybe a top 5 team in the country. They're not that anymore, though. So I think Oklahoma will be able to slow down that passing game quite a bit. Again, I also think that Oklahoma will win the game on the ground. So I think that they're going to do great. I think that they're going to do great on the ground. I think they'll win the game on the ground, and I think they'll be able to slow down Alabama's defense as well. They'll be able to slow down Alabama's offensive passing game as well. Now, the X factor for Alabama is their passing defense against Oklahoma's passing game. Alabama has 169 yards per game against them through the air. That is 9th in the country. Their passing game has been great. But I just question how much Oklahoma is even going to try to throw the ball. Oklahoma has 215 passing yards per game. That is 83rd in the country. So I don't know how well Oklahoma is going to be able to throw the ball. That's the only question I have for them. But again, I think they're going to win on the ground. I think they're going to win defensively on the ground. I think Oklahoma's defense is going to be a lot better than Alabama's defense. And I think that's going to what's going to win them this game. Now, I do want to talk about last game that they played. I think that is going to be a huge story in this game because Alabama turned the ball over a ton against Oklahoma. Oklahoma forces turnovers better than anyone else in timely moments. They did it against Alabama, and they did it against Tennessee. Now, their turnover margin through the whole season is -2, so not great. But I think in big games, they turn over the ball better than anyone else in the country. They did it against Alabama. They did it against Tennessee. If they can do that again, they're going to win this game. Is Kalen DeBoer coaching for the Michigan job? I don't know if this is going to play a factor in the game or not. I don't know if this is going to be a distraction for Kalen DeBoer or not. But I think it could be. Is he eyeing that job? We just don't know. We just don't fully know. I think we do, but we don't fully know if he's looking at Michigan. I think he's saying no to Michigan, but we just don't fully know. Does that play a factor? We'll see. I think Oklahoma's going to win this game. Like I said, I think they're going to run the ball better than Alabama does. I think they're going to have a better defense than Alabama does. That's 2 to 3 out of the 4 key parts, which is Oklahoma's rushing, Oklahoma's passing, Alabama's passing, Alabama's rushing. I think Alabama won't be able to run the ball. Alabama will be able to throw the ball a little bit, but I think that's the only statistic that they're going to be better than Oklahoma at. I think Oklahoma will be able to run the ball better than Alabama can. I think Oklahoma will be playing better defense than Alabama will. So, for those reasons, I believe that Oklahoma is going to win this game. I think it's going to be very low scoring. I think the first team to get to probably about 24 to 27 is going to win this game. It's going to be extremely, extremely low scoring. I can't wait. Defensive battle. It's going to be a blast. You might get a little bored. If you're one of those people who loves the high-flying games, big 56 to 54 types of games, you're not going to want to watch this game. This isn't going to be for you. But for me, defensive guy, I love a defensive battle. This is going to be a great game. Friday night in Norman, Oklahoma. Can't wait to watch it. Oklahoma, I think, is going to win this game. Now, what I think is the best game out of any of the round one football games, Miami is going to College Station to take on the Aggies of Texas A&M. Now, Carson Beck versus Marcel Reed. Again, I always love talking about the quarterbacks first. I think that's the most important part of most college football games. These two could not be more similar. I'm going to read you some stats. Carson Beck, 3,072 yards, 25 touchdowns, 10 interceptions. Marcel Reed, 2,932 yards, 25 touchdowns, 10 interceptions. So, Marcel Reed is about a little 150 less passing yards, but touchdowns are the same, interceptions are the same. Very, very similar stat lines for both players. Whoever can turn the ball over the least, I think, is who's going to win this game. Again, Carson Beck and Marcel Reed both have 10 interceptions. Both players have to limit those as much as they possibly can. 6 of Carson Beck's 10 interceptions were in their 2 losses. So clearly, Carson Beck turns the ball over, usually leads to a Miami loss. If he doesn't do that, I think he's going to put Miami in a great position to win this game. Don't turn the ball over. I put that just a sentence in this preview. Don't turn the ball over. Key for both teams. That's key for most teams in any game. Texas A&M running the ball against Miami's rushing defense, I think, is the most important and most intriguing part of this game. Texas A&M averages 5 yards per carry. That is right on the dot, 5 yards per carry. That's 25th in the country. I think that they can run the ball extremely well. If you get 5 yards per carry, you can just get a first down. You can get half of the first down, half of first down, every single play. I think that's going to be a huge key for Texas A&M. But Miami's going to have something to say about that. Miami only allows 2.9 yards per carry, which is good for 7th in the country. They have a great running defense. Can Texas A&M run the ball in Miami? That's going to be the most intriguing, most important part in this game, second to the turnovers. Don't turn the ball over, and can Texas A&M run the ball? 2 of the biggest questions in the game. Now, does the environment affect Carson Beck? I think that could be an issue here. Miami is not the same environment as Texas A&M. Going and playing in the ACC is not nearly the same as playing in College Station in Kyle Field. That's going to be a shock to the system. Now, what helps Carson Beck in this situation is that he played at Georgia for 2 years. So I think that he's going to be used to it. I think he hasn't done it in a year, but I think that if anyone and any non-SEC team is going to be ready for a SEC environment, it's going to be Carson Beck. So I think you got the right guy mentally for Miami. You got the right guy at quarterback. Miami's ground game against Texas A&M's defense is also another huge key. They are very, very, very similar. Miami is 91st in yards per carry. They are 74th in yards per game on the ground. Now Texas A&M is 68th in yards per carry against and 42nd in yards per game. So they're not very good. They can be run on. They can be. I'm not saying they will be because, again, Miami is 91st and 74th in yards per carry and yards per game. But Texas A&M has shown that they can be run on. Again, 68th in yards per carry. That is not good enough for Texas A&M. That's why I don't think that they're a national championship contender. But just a game against Miami, I think that they can take care of that. Texas A&M is number 1 in sack percentage in the country. I think this is going to be a huge story in Miami's passing attack. Miami and Texas A&M are very, very, very similar whenever it comes to the matchup of through the air for Miami. Miami's in the 20s for yards per game and yards per attempt through the air. Texas A&M is in the 20s for yards per game and yards per attempt through the air against them. So, very, very, very similar. Kind of like the run game for Texas A&M. The game through the air for Miami is also going to be very, very, very important because the teams are very, very, very similar. And again, you throw in the fact that Texas A&M is number 1 in sack percentage. They're around 10% of the opponent's plays end up in sacks. So that means roughly for every 30 passing attempts, they have 3 sacks. For every 40 passing attempts, they have 4 sacks. Texas A&M is going to get to the quarterback. And I don't think Carson Beck has the legs to be able to escape that. Now, I'm talking a lot about Texas A&M. I'm talking them up quite a bit. The X factor is Ruben Bain. The edge rusher for Miami, he is an absolute superstar for the Hurricanes. He's going to be a first-round pick. He can completely wreck the game against Texas A&M. They have to block him. They have to keep Marcel Reed safe back there. He can't be running around for his life. He has the physical ability to, unlike Carson Beck. But if he is, I think that's going to put Texas A&M at a huge disadvantage for their offense. But again, I think they could negate that with their run game. But Miami has a really good running game, defense. I think if Ruben Bain can affect the quarterback, if Ruben Bain can be a complete game changer for Miami, then I think that's going to sway the game in a huge way in Miami's favor, because Texas A&M won't be able to run the ball whatsoever. I don't think they're going to be able to run the ball at all against Miami. Now, the only question that I have for Miami, again, I really don't feel very confident in Miami, is because they play in the ACC. They already have 2 losses in the ACC. That gives me a lot of nervousness, okay? I don't know if they're going to be able to scale against a team in Kyle Field, in College Station, against a team like Texas A&M. They haven't played a team as talented as Texas A&M outside of Notre Dame. Now, they did beat Notre Dame, but that was early in the season. Notre Dame is not the same team that they are now. So I don't think that Miami is going to be able to scale. I think the 2.9 yards per carry, which is 7th in the country, I think that's going to fall a little bit. I think you're going to see around 3.4, 3.5. I think that Texas A&M is going to win this game. I think I just laid out a great way, a lot more ways. I think I just laid out a lot more ways for Texas A&M to win this game than Miami. Miami needs Ruben Bain to have a good game. I think he's going to be the key to Miami winning this game. Ruben Bain and Carson Beck are the 2 most important people for Miami. They have to show up here. They have to. They absolutely have to. If they don't, Miami's not going to have a very good chance of beating Texas A&M. But I think Texas A&M is going to win. I think they're going to hold their own against Ohio State. I think that's going to be a great game. Either one who wins this game, Miami or Texas A&M, I think is going to put up a great game against Ohio State, and I can't wait to watch that. Speaking of, let's get into my playoff brackets on the other side of this piece of paper, okay? Again, I did just talk about the Texas A&M and Miami. I also just talked about Oklahoma and Alabama. So we already know who I have winning those games. I have Oklahoma beating Alabama, playing Indiana. I have Texas A&M beating Miami and playing Ohio State. Obviously, I didn't even touch on the Oregon, James Madison, or Ole Miss and Tulane games for obvious reasons. I think Oregon's going to run James Madison out the building. I think Tulane could give Ole Miss a game, but I think that Ole Miss is going to take care of business no matter what. So that leaves my quarterfinal games. We have Oklahoma and Indiana. We have Texas Tech playing Oregon. We have Georgia playing Ole Miss. And we have Ohio State playing Texas A&M. Now, let's get into the Indiana and Oklahoma game. No matter who wins that Oklahoma and Alabama game, Indiana is going to be favored. So that means that if Alabama wins that game, Indiana is going to be favored against Alabama. Imagine telling yourself that 10 years ago, that Indiana would be favored over Alabama in a college football playoff game. What? I digress. I think Indiana is going to beat Oklahoma in this quarterfinal game because Indiana has the Heisman winner. Fernando Mendoza just won the Heisman Trophy. He is the best player in college football this year. I think he shows up in the biggest moments. I think that if there is one reliable certainty that Indiana is going to get, and it's that if Indiana gets in a close game, Fernando Mendoza will show up. He did it against Penn State, did it against Oregon, did it against Iowa, and he did it against Ohio State. Fernando Mendoza will show up. Now, I think this is where Oklahoma's inept offense finally gets them. Fortunately for Oklahoma, they are also playing against another inept offense in the first round. So I think that they can kind of hide that against Alabama. They're not going to be able to hide against Indiana. I think Indiana will win this game pretty easily. I think they have the talent to do it. I think they have the execution to do it. They have the coach to do it. I think they're going to beat Oklahoma pretty easily. Now, I'm going to skip over the Texas Tech and Oregon game because I think that game is going to be amazing. Texas A&M and Ohio State. That's going to be a great game as well. Okay? Man, I was not for college football playoff expansion whenever it was being talked about. But then you look at this bracket. After the season we just had where it felt like every game was do or die, and you really didn't lose much of the college football regular season importance, you look at this after that season, great season that we just had, and now you're looking at this. It's like, how could you not love the 12-team playoff? How could you change the 12-team playoff? How could you change it? please don't change it. They're going to change it, and I don't want them to change it because this is perfect. This is perfect. Texas A&M and Ohio State, going to be an absolute thriller. Marcel Reed, Julian Sand, two of the best quarterbacks in the country. Marcel Reed's legs in this game are going to play a complete X factor. I cannot wait. I cannot wait to see a game like this. I think Ohio State's going to win it. They just have too much talent. Again, like I said earlier in the show, I think that at Ohio State's best, they are better than any other team in the country. So, I think they're going to beat Texas A&M. I think they're going to be able to run the ball pretty well against Texas A&M. Like I said, against Miami, you can run the ball against Texas A&M. I think Bo Jackson would have a big game against Texas A&M. I think that I think they're going to try and stop him, and then I think that will leave Jeremiah Smith, Carnell Tate to do their thing. I think Ohio State take care of business against Texas A&M. Georgia and Ole Miss. Again, Georgia playing Ole Miss, a coachless Ole Miss. Well, I guess they do have Pete Golding as their full-time head coach, but they don't have Lane Kiffin. Their offensive staff has got his foot out the door. I don't think Ole Miss is going to stand much of a shot in this game just because there's too much going on. There just is. As much as I am cheering for Ole Miss, if I could have an Ole Miss versus Indiana national championship game, that would be my dream. I would be so happy if that happened, but I don't think it's going to. I think Georgia's too good. I think they're playing their best football at the correct time. I think they're doing exactly what they need to be doing if they want to compete for a national championship, and they are scaling at the perfect time. I have seen nothing but just going straight upwards for Georgia. So I think that they would take care of Ole Miss. Again, I think that their run game is going to be too good. I think that their receivers are a lot better than they were last year, so I think they will be able to make a run in the playoffs. And I just don't see Ole Miss being able to overcome the coaching turnover that they've had. So I think Georgia is going to beat the Rebels in the quarterfinals. So that finally leads me to the Texas Tech and Oregon game, which I think will be the best game out of any of these quarterfinal games. Texas Tech and Oregon. I don't know who has the edge here, really. I mean, Baron Morton, great quarterback. Dante Moore, great quarterback. Two great defenses. Two great offenses. Two insane receiving cores. I don't know who's going to win this game. I have Oregon winning it, but it's mostly off of brand power, mostly off of coaching. I think Dan Lanning is a great coach. I think he's not by much, but I think he's a better coach than Joey McGuire. Which is no disrespect to Joey McGuire. I think what he's doing at Texas Tech is amazing. I think he's doing a great job there. But I think Dan Lanning's just slightly better. So I think Oregon has a better talent roster. They have better coaching. I think Oregon takes care of Texas Tech in an absolute thriller of a football game. Now that leads me to my semifinal games. This is where it's getting good. Rematch, Indiana-Oregon on one side of the bracket. Again, this game happened earlier in the season. Indiana somehow came up with the upset in Autzen Stadium. So if Indiana can play like that, if Indiana plays the way that they've been playing, they're going to win this game. I don't think they will, though. I don't see it happening. I think Indiana has to have a coming to earth moment at some point. I know I'm doubting them just because it's Indiana and not paying attention to the actual team that they are. But again, I just think that they're Indiana. They're Indiana. They have to slow down at some point, right? Right? I don't know. They could win this game easily. They could go win the national championship. I don't know. I truly don't know. But again, I have Oregon winning this game. I think that they're going to get up for it. They're not going to have this moment where they get blown out like they did against Ohio State last year. I think, will get up for this. I think that Dan Lanning is the best revenge type of coaches in the country. I think that he knows how to get his players going, especially against a team that they lost to earlier in the season. They disrespected Oregon by making them lose at home in Autzen Stadium. I think they're going to get revenge here. I think Oregon beats Indiana to go to the national championship because, again, just like Georgia, I think that they are scaling at the right time. I think they're playing their best football at the right time. Which leads me to, I have Georgia beating Ohio State in the semifinals. Like I talked about earlier in the show, I don't think that loss against Indiana is the same as the loss against Michigan. I don't think there's as much to respond to. I think the Michigan game was a complete shock to the senses of moment that they had last year against Michigan. I think that Georgia is just playing out of their minds right now. They are playing their best football right now, and I think that they just beat Alabama handedly. They lost to Alabama earlier in the season at home, and then they go to a neutral field and blow them out. I think that's just proof of how much better they are now than they were at the beginning of the season. So I think Georgia is now officially on a run. They beat Ole Miss. They beat Ohio State. But again, going to be a crazy game. Going to be a crazy game. Both of these games. Ohio State, Georgia, Indiana, Oregon, 2 amazing games. I cannot wait to see them. Even if these teams lose earlier in the playoffs, they're still going to be great games. I mean, even if I just reversed every single one that is possible, again, I don't think it's possible for James Madison to beat Oregon. So, I don't think it's possible for James Madison to beat Oregon. So, Oregon beats James Madison, and then Texas Tech beats Oregon, and then maybe Alabama beats Oklahoma, and then they somehow beat Indiana. Imagine Alabama and Texas Tech in the semifinals. I would love that too. I mean, every single possible scenario here is going to be an amazing game, outside of probably the Ole Miss and Oregon first-round games. That's why I didn't talk about it earlier. So, again, I can't wait. So this makes my national championship Oregon and Georgia. And honestly, this is a complete coin flip for me. Complete coin flip. I really don't know. Both teams are on fire at this point. They are both playing their best football right this moment. Oregon has had time to get healthy in this scenario. I think that they're a lot healthier than they were in that last game. Oregon's a lot healthier than they were against Iowa, a lot healthier than they were against USC. I think Oregon takes it. I think that Oregon, they're just being slept on this year. I think Dante Moore is a top 3 quarterback in the country. I think that he should have gotten more love for the Heisman voting. I think that Dante Moore is an absolute superstar for Oregon. And honestly, whenever it comes down to rosters that are this good and coaching trees that are this good, Dan Lanning, Kirby Smart, those rosters are pretty equal whenever it comes to talent. 4 and 5 stars, blue chip ratio, stuff like that. They're pretty damn similar. I think whenever it comes down to it, whenever it gets to things that are this close, this razor thin, I think you look at quarterbacks. I think who wins the game is the better quarterback. And I think Dante Moore is better than Gunnar Stockton. So, Oregon is my national championship winner in my bracket. I think that's who is going to win the national championship. I just think they're being overlooked. I think that they have a great setup. I think that Texas Tech is probably the weaker of the weaker of the top 4 seeds. So I think that that's who you want to play if you got a first round game. And they play James Madison, which is, I think, the worst team in the playoffs. So I think you beat James Madison with ease. I think you can easily beat Texas Tech. Maybe not easily. I think it's going to be a great game, like I said. But Oregon beats Texas Tech. I think that's a great run. Then you play Indiana, who's not the same talent-wise. Yes. By no means am I trying to break down what Indiana's done. They've had a great season. What they're doing is extraordinary. Like I said earlier in the show, you will never see anything like you are seeing with Indiana again. But they just don't have the talent that maybe an Ohio State or a Georgia has. So I think it's a great run-up to the national championship game for Oregon. They have a great run. They beat James Madison. They beat Texas Tech. They beat Indiana. And then whenever it comes to Georgia, I think they just have a better quarterback. So I think that Oregon is going to beat Georgia and win the national championship. That is my pick. That is who's going to win the national championship on the Scoring from the 50 podcast. Now, again, thank you guys so much for watching. It's playoff time. It's time to get into this, okay? It is time to crown a national championship. I cannot believe that I'm still doing this show in December. I'm so proud of myself. I gotta give myself props, okay? The past couple of years, I've tried to do this show, and it just didn't work. But I'm in December now. I've made it through the season, and I'm still uploading shows. We got about a 50-minute maybe around their show getting uploaded in December. I'm incredibly proud of myself. I'm proud of myself for all doing this with school, and I just gotta give myself some love. I do. But it's been a great season. I don't want it to end. The only downside that we're in the playoff now is that we're even closer to the season ending. And I don't want to go through the offseason, man. I love this so much. I cannot wait for this playoff. It's going to be so fun. We got some huge games this weekend. And then after this weekend, New Year's Eve, New Year's Day, that's when stuff starts getting really, really serious. We will have shows for you before those games. I promise we will have stuff up. I love it. If you guys have watched this long, I do want to make sure you guys go down and subscribe, hit the like button. If you don't do that and you're 50 minutes into the show, what are you doing? You're obviously going to want to watch more of me in the future. So, Again, thank you guys so much for watching. It's going to be a blast. College football playoff. It could not be any better. I absolutely love it. I want to thank you guys so much again for watching, especially if you've made it this far. That means a ton to me. I can see stats like that, see how long people watch. I don't know who watches how long, but I can see how long people watch. So whenever I see a few people that do watch all the way to the end, I really appreciate it, and I love seeing that. Again, thank you guys so much for the support. Can't wait for these games. I can't wait to watch them with you guys and react with you guys. I hope you guys have a great weekend and enjoy some football. I'll see you guys next week.